Dr. Ian Britton, an academic who studies volunteers and policing internationally, and I'm delighted to continue our series of interviews on Policing TV with experts and leaders around the world of volunteers in policing by being joined today by Phaik Kin from Malaysia. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Phaik Kin Cheah, and I am an associate professor at University Tunku Abdul Rahman in Malaysia, and I'm also a volunteer police officer in the Royal Malaysia Police Volunteer Reserve.
And can you give us a brief history of how you came to be involved in volunteer policing?
I started my journey in volunteer policing shortly after joining University Tunku Abdul Rahman as a full-time academic in 2010. So our campus is in Kampar, and Kampar is a small former mining town in the state of Perak in Malaysia. So Kampar has a tight-knit community where basically everyone knows each other, and because of the close connection, I got to know the local police officers through our projects, our events, and also the officer in charge of the police district, which is Kampar. So he suggested that I join the police volunteer reserves, which we call the PVR, and seeing it as a way of to contribute to the community while benefiting my role in a university. So I took his advice, underwent the necessary training, and then became a volunteer police officer. So can you imagine how confused my students were when they see me in the police uniform when they go out at night in town?
Many of our viewers on Policing TV will not know much about volunteer policing in Malaysia, or indeed policing in Malaysia for that matter. Can you share how your programme of volunteer reserves works, and perhaps also give us a little sense of its history?
Sure. The PVR, has a fascinating history, and it plays a crucial role in Malaysia. The concept of volunteer policing started a long time ago in Malaysia as a means for the community to guard their own neighbourhoods. So it was formally set up on the 3rd of May 1956, 1 year before our independence. And initially it was all about bolstering the fight against threats. So what's really interesting about the PVR is that it allows everyday people like you and I, who typically have full-time jobs, to volunteer as police officers in their spare time. So these volunteers receive a small allowance based on their rank and the funding available in their state unit. So as of 2023, we have about 5,600 PVR officers and about nearly 10,000 positions still open. So there are about 15,500 allocated positions in all of Malaysia. So those who are interested in joining, like me, the process is quite thorough. So first they go through a selection process, then they attend basic training course at the police training facility, followed by on-the-job training at their assigned posts. So this training is essential to prepare officers for various duties that they will be performing. So over the years, the role of PVR officers has expanded significantly. They now do everything from staffing at the headquarters to patrolling, monitoring traffic, serving at inquiry counters in police stations, performing guard duties. So they are sworn in, armed, and have the same authority as regular police officers, including the power to arrest. So the PVR program is really a great example of community involvement in Malaysia. So it boosts public safety and also instills a strong sense of civic duty among its members. So it's all about Malaysians coming together and to help keep their communities safe.
What sort of things do you personally do when you are volunteering in the PVR?
When I volunteer for police duties, I get engaged in a range of activities, and they are incredibly rewarding. One of my main tasks is patrolling the neighborhood, which is in area of the police jurisdiction, according to whichever station that I'm serving. So this helps to deter crime and make sure that residents feel safe. It also gives us a chance to meet the community. So I feel that part is really enjoyable. We also monitor traffic. So during rush hour or special events, or if, for example, if there is a road accident or a mishap, so we have to direct traffic and that is when we get calls or when we are patrolling and something happens where we are. So that's when we have to, well, go down and, try and solve or help the situation. So, but serving at inquiry counters at the police station is also an important part of what I do. So I assist the public with the questions and concerns. So sometimes I help them to ask questions or do some translation, help to relate their stories. So I feel that, when I offer assistance or sometimes also comfort, when people come into police stations, they are usually shocked or they're in fear. So sometimes when we calm them down, when we see a friendly face, that actually helps. So other than that, we also do guard duties, and and during these times we keep watch at specific locations or events. So to just do crowd control. Sometimes we do just to make sure that everything is secure. So it's a very fulfilling experience, and I also get to connect with people, contribute, to their safety, and make a positive impact to my fellow Malaysians.
What's the relationship like with your regular paid police officer colleagues? Are they supportive of reserves like yourselves?
Well, the relationship between the regular officers and us volunteers is built on mutual respect and teamwork. So we face dangers together, support each other, and work towards the common goal of keeping our communities safe. And in this kind of partnership, I'm proud to be a part of it, and it's made all the more rewarding by the respect and trust that we share. So facing risks together has created a strong bond among us, and we rely on each other, we support each other, and we also learn from each other constantly. So the regular officers bring extensive training and experience. I mean, we as volunteers, we cannot compare because, we don't serve as many hours as they do. We also bring fresh perspectives and additional manpower, and this is also this blend of skills and viewpoints makes the team more effective and adaptable. So volunteers, they come from all walks of life with different backgrounds and skills and abilities. So some of us are teachers, office workers, even business owners. I had a partner who's a farmer, he works at his farm in a day. So each one of us brings something unique to the table. So for instance, somebody with a background in communication might excel in negotiation situations, and while another in medical training can provide first aid. So this kind of diversity enriches the team, and it really enhances our ability to handle a variety of situations.
Can you think of one particular example where you feel that you've really made a difference through your volunteering in the PVR?
Thank you for asking me this. This is a proud moment for me. Now, one experience that really stands out for me is when I initiated and led a project to document and research police volunteer work in Malaysia. So this project made me feel like I was really making a difference. So back in 2014, when I joined, I realized that there wasn't much information available about police volunteers in Malaysia. So I took the lead in publishing the first study on PVR in 2018. So our research actually focused on understanding what volunteers contribute and their roles and the challenges that they face. So it was eye-opening to uncover their unique perspectives to bring to the table. So this paper laid the groundwork for future research. As they say, the rest is history. So at the improvements in this field. So I felt that I was doing something truly meaningful for both the community, the police force, and in documenting history. So beyond the academic paper, I shared the findings with, in non-academic publications to raise awareness about the role of police volunteers. So I also presented my work in international conferences, and this has also been particularly rewarding, as it's inspiring to see how our research work can influence and inform police practices globally. So with the support of the Royal Malaysia Police and my university, this project has been a significant and fulfilling part of so it has also shown me the power of collaboration and the impact dedicated research that can have.
During this the period of COVID, what sort of roles did you have as reserves during that time?
Well, this is a very unique experience for me, and a very unique time to be a police volunteer. So during the we the PVRs had very important roles. So when the state of emergency was declared in Malaysia, we had to be mobilized to help the police force with a huge task of combating the virus. So we found ourselves on the front lines, manning roadblocks, doing compliance checks, making sure people were following health measures like wearing masks, social distancing, and these shifts were long, and we had to work under very tough conditions. But we knew how important our work was. So one day that really stand out during the pandemic was when we patrolled in the area that I was stationed, and we had to make announcements from our patrol vehicle to remind everyone about the health guidelines. So and because I am ethnic Chinese and I can speak the local dialect, the regular officers were very happy that I was on duty that day. So they had given me the task to say, okay, you get ready and you make this announcement. So it was really a simple task to do, but people needed the information, and because the rules were always changing and updated by the government. So but that job felt really important, and people later on, when they saw me on the patrolling, and they recognized the voice and asked me if I were the one who was making the announcement. So, and they even thanked me for doing it. So and during that time, when we were in the common areas, in the market areas where a lot of people were in the morning, we also handed out the travel permit forms to those who needed them, and many people didn't have access to printers or computers, and some elderly had also had trouble reading the small print on the form. So I was helping them out and answering their questions, and I think that made a big difference to them, because they had their questions answered. Some people had to travel or cross borders to get their medication, or to see the doctor, or to get supplies. So, it brought a lot of relief and comfort to the people in that kind of a crisis. Yeah. So, but the job comes, with a share of risk, including the constant threat of getting infected, which actually happened to me. And so, we would go out, be exposed to the virus, and the public, and then come home to our family, and also risk infecting our family. So, but despite these challenges, the PVR officers, we just stayed committed. So many of us were dealing with our own personal hardships. We were also having a crisis. Some of them, we lost our jobs, or we weren't able to earn, at the income that we used to earn because of the lockdown. We also knew that the community needed us. So this experience taught us a lot about teamwork and resilience, and it showed us how to stay calm, respond to changing situations, and we saw firsthand the importance of discipline and alertness. So our collective efforts, so supporting the Royal Malaysia Police and our families, helped us get through the crisis. And the best part is seeing the relief and gratitude from people whom we helped and made all this effort worthwhile. So it's not about being heroes, it's just about doing what is needed to be done to support our community during a tough time.
And you talked before about the significant pioneering research you'd undertaken in Malaysia around volunteer experience. You're one of the leading international researchers in the field of volunteer police. Why do you think that developing the academic research base in respect to volunteers and policing is important?
So developing academic research in volunteer policing is very important for a few major reasons. Firstly, it helps us understand the challenges that volunteers face. Police volunteers, often have to juggle their regular jobs and volunteer work, which isn't easy. So by studying their experience, we can find ways to support them better and making their roles easier and more effective. So another big thing is that volunteers bring a variety of skills and backgrounds to the force. So they offer fresh perspectives that can be incredibly valuable. So research helps us see how these diverse skills can be used at best at benefiting both the police force and the community. So good research is also the foundation for solid training programs. So by looking at what works well around the world, we can create better training for volunteers, and this means they will be more prepared and confident when they are out on the streets. So another thing is that when we share such evidence at international conferences, or when we publish them, we're helping police forces everywhere learn from each other. So this kind of global network makes volunteer policing better for everyone. So in short, research is crucial. It helps recognize the hard work of volunteers, support them in their challenges, makes the most of their skills, improves training, and fosters international cooperation. So all of this makes our community safer, and it also shows us the real impact of volunteer police work.
Sadly, in many places around the world, volunteer policing seems to be shrinking in terms of the numbers involved at the moment. Why do you think this is, and do you have a sense that it's becoming harder to recruit and to retain volunteers in Malaysia?
It is true that volunteer policing is seeing a decline in numbers, and there are several challenges when it comes to recruiting and retaining volunteers. This is the same, I think, everywhere, not just particularly in Malaysia. So one of the biggest issues is the increasing demands and risks associated with the job. So being a volunteer police officer requires a significant time commitment and often involves yourself in a potentially dangerous situation. So this can deter people from signing up or staying on long term. So another challenge is the rise in job pressures and personal commitments. So many people are juggling full-time jobs, family responsibilities, other obligations, and leaving little time for volunteering. So this demanding nature of policing can also make it harder for individuals to find time and energy to volunteer. So moreover, it doesn't pay. So, although we do receive a small allowance, you also need to have resources to be able to volunteer. So in Malaysia, these are the challenges that we face. The rigorous training required and the need for balanced volunteer duties with regular jobs, it can be challenging to many. So the perception of increased risks, especially given the recent global events, it also might contribute to the hesitation of people, that people feel about joining or continuing as volunteer police officers. However, it's not all bleak. There are steps that we can take to address these issues, and improving support and recognition for volunteers can make a difference. So when volunteers feel appreciated and valued, they're more likely to stay committed. So offering flexible volunteering options that can fit around the personal schedules can also help attract more people. And another key aspect is also public awareness. By highlighting the importance and impact of volunteer policing, we can inspire more people to get involved. So sharing success stories and the positive effects of this in the community, like what Policing TV is doing, can motivate potential volunteers to step up.
And in terms of our international symposium in Edinburgh, this has brought together people from so many different countries sharing their own perspectives and their own experiences of work. What do you think internationally we can learn from one another, and do you think there's sort of value in learning from the different models in different countries?
Yeah, absolutely. Attending the International Symposium of Volunteer Policing in Edinburgh was an eye-opener, and it reinforced how much we can learn from each other. And each country has its own unique model of volunteer policing, shaped by its culture, history, specific needs, and there's a lot of valuable insight to be gained from these diverse approaches. So for example, I learned about virtual volunteering, which became prominent during the pandemic. Involves tasks that can be done remotely, such as monitoring security cameras, managing social media, handling administrative duties. And these approaches offer flexibility and broaden the pool of potential volunteers and strengthen the bond between the police and the community. So by adopting these strategies, we can significantly enhance our volunteer policing efforts. So another area which I learned is the management and support of police volunteer officers. Some countries offer great benefits and recognition programs that keep volunteers motivated and committed. So understanding these practices can help us develop better support systems and retention strategies, and making volunteer policing more attractive and a sustainable option. So sharing success stories and challenges also provides a platform for innovation. And I think, by understanding what works and what doesn't in different contexts, we can adapt and implement the best practices that suit our specific needs. So this collaborative approach actually can lead to more effective and efficient volunteer policing worldwide. So there's tremendous amount we can learn from each other by sharing our experiences, models of volunteer policing, and by adopting best practices and innovative ideas from around the world, we can improve our own systems at home and to better support our volunteers and ultimately public safety in our communities.
Thank you, Phaik Kin, for such a really insightful sense of the reserve policing in Malaysia, but also around the world, and around that increasing base of academic work which is starting to inform and underpin how we develop volunteer policing in the future. Volunteers are a major part of policing in so many different countries, but effectively rarely gets that political leadership and academic attention which it deserves. So it's been really refreshing to talk to you, and particularly that academic insight, aligned with the practical experience you have as a frontline volunteer officer. So thank you very much for speaking with Policing TV.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Britton.